This is a story I started writing, I don't know if it's a year or maybe even 2 years ago. Anyhow, just a second. Um, Biggy D's worldwide fast food behemoth. A reporter has gone missing, presumed dead. She has been working on a story regarding Biggy D's using chemicals to addict its customers to its food. Pete Wilson, a private detective, has had his interest in the story bubble to a boil. Not because of any interest in people's safety, but because the reporter, Susie Chan, had been doggedly pursuing him on taking bribes from a local police department. Pete didn't know who was feeding her that line of bullshit. But now that she had disappeared, the paper was printing stories that Pete is probably involved. It is not helping his case when he receives a gift from an aunt of a 1957 Chevy Bel Air. The car is rarer than hen's teeth, and he is seen putting around town in it. Pete's old Impala is in the shop, getting a new or rebuilt transmission, so he has been using the 57 to run around a bit. Pete knows a few collectors, and he also knows vehicles don't last long in his possession. The money would pay off a small debt he has and allow him to buy a little cabin on a lake. Pete's not much into fishing. He figured it might grow on him. The quiet is what really beckons him. Pete stops at the 11th precinct. One of the desk sergeants is an old friend. "Hey, Bob, how's it hanging?" "A little to the left, and I think it's getting shorter," says Bob. They bullshit a bit, and Pete gets around to asking about Susie Chan. "I would think you would be glad she's gone missing," says Bob. "Any other time would be right, but the paper's trying to link me to it," says Pete. "Well, isn't that weird?" says Bob. "What do you mean?" says Pete. "Well, 2 days ago, I was talking to Sokolowski, the old detective," says Bob. "Yeah, I know Steve. What's he have to say?" "Well, him and his partner had been asked by the Tribune's owner, Phil Chuckles, to come by for a possible lead to Miss Chan's disappearance," says Bob. Phil Chuckles says the paper's got this new phone texting policy, sort of the time stamping to their reporter. When a reporter goes somewhere looking for a story information, they're supposed to say where they are and text message and who they're meeting, and an address isn't required, but some idea of their location, says Bob. "And," says Pete. "Sokolowski said Miss Chan had texted that she was meeting Biggy D's chairman Hector Fields for a follow-up on the big story she was doing on them. But the thing is, that was the last text she sent. All calls from her stopped, and any call sent to her goes straight to a full voicemail box," says Bob. "That means those assholes at the paper know I wasn't involved. Why would they print those lies?" asked Pete. "Sokolowski told me one more thing that might allow you to understand their angle," says Bob. "What could that be?" "You've heard of the Asian Mafia?" "Yeah," says Pete. "Well, Susie Chan's half-brother, one Dean Lee, is reportedly an accountant in that organization. I imagine you'll be getting contacted by someone from there soon," says Bob. "Oh, shit," Pete says. "Yep," says Bob. "Hey, thanks, pal. I lived through this. I owe you and Betty a steak dinner," says Pete. "Steak and lobster, please," says Bob. "You got it. Thanks," says Pete as he dashes for the door. As he heads out of the precinct, Pete sees his beautiful 57 disappearing down the street on a police impound flatbed. "What the hell?" exclaims Pete. A black limo pulls up, and a young Asian male gets out and opens the rear door for Pete. "What's this?" asks Pete. "Please, Mr. Wilson, my employer wishes a few moments of your time," says the Asian. Pete knows the resistance is futile, so he gets in the back seat. An older Asian man is sitting across from Pete. "Mr. Wilson, my name is Dean Lee. Susie Chan is my half-sister. Were you aware of this?" "My friend Bob just mentioned it 10 minutes ago," says Pete. "It's understandable Susie has distanced herself from my associations and my work. Reporters need to be trustworthy to be believable." "Yeah, I'm sure it helps," says Pete. "I'm not too big on small talk, Mr. Wilson, so I will lay out my request to you as such. I lost my place here. I'm not too big on small talk, Miss Wilson, so I'll lay out my request to you as such. Find my sister. Our mother needs to know where she is. If she is dead, she needs to know why, and she will want her killer or killer's whereabouts. Please don't deny a mother her retribution. I know you didn't care for Susie's making you out to be a criminal. We both know that's not true. I also know you wouldn't hurt her. You're not the type. Your 57 has been put in storage and added an incentive, says Mr. Lee. You'll need some transportation, so I'm loaning you one of my organization's Mercedes. Time is of the essence here, Mr. Wilson, said Mr. Lee, and he tossed me a keychain. There's also a phone in the console of the Mercedes. If you need anything, call that number. I mean anything, anytime. I expect to hear from you very soon, says Mr. Lee. The door next to Pete opens. Evidently the meeting is over. The limo pulls away. Pete clicks the lock button on the key fob. A beautiful white Mercedes sedan's lights flick. Pete climbs in and opens the console. The phone is on top of the brown envelope. As he picks up the phone in an envelope, he sees a Glock with 4 magazines. The envelope has a stack of cash in it and a little yellow post-it saying, "Bribe money, not for you," to grease the palms. Pete wonders if Mr. Lee knows something he doesn't, or is he just paranoid? Pete decides to look in the trunk. He gets out and opens the trunk. Inside is what looks like a second-story man's toolkit. Everything needed to cut through a fence, pick a lock. Hell, this is better than his own set. A long black case reel is the AR-15 with 6 50-round clips. Damn, accountants must prepare for everything. Pete decides his first step is to see Phil Chuckles. He wants to see Susie Chan's last text messages and her desk. Pete bribes the front desk girl with $100 from the envelope. Phil Chuckles is staring out the window when Pete goes into his office. At first, Phil plays the indignation card, but Pete straightens him out quick with what he already knows. Phil goes soft. Susie had gotten some threats when she started to go after Biggy D's, but that girl just doesn't know quit. Can you show me the text messages? Asked Pete. Yeah, they're right here. Phil brings up the messages on his computer. Can I see the last week or two of her messages? Asked Pete. Yeah, just scroll through them. The last couple months are there. Just as Bob had said, Detective Sokolowski had told him, Susie was at Hector Field's office for a meeting. No more texts. But before then was a slew of texts. She sent texts leaving her apartment, stopping at Starbucks. Do you want a latte, boss? Arriving at work, leaving work, stopping for lunch, for pizza. LR, what's LR stand for? Phil laughed a bit. Ladies' room. Damn, she was doing a bit overboard on the text, wasn't she? Asked Pete. It was kind of an inside joke. Susie had not wanted to be so connected, but after doing the text for a while, she started to cope with the job stress by making a joke out of letting me know where she was, Phil says. I miss her. I scanned back through 2 months of text. Every Wednesday, she stopped at China Garden on Mayo Boulevard for sesame chicken. I knew because she would text Phil, sesame chicken and lo mein noodles. Do you want some, boss? Was the sesame chicken good from China Garden, Pete asked. She loves it. I found out they use log cabin pancake syrup in the batter. I must be the only person on the planet with an allergy to log cabin syrup, Phil said. Didn't you tell her? Oh, yeah. She just likes to rub it in, said Pete. A bit of a mean streak, I gather, said Pete. Oh, only if she likes you. If she doesn't, she won't waste her time. Unless you're guilty, then she'll bury you, said Phil. So what was it for me, accusing me of bribes, asked Pete. At first she thought you were guilty. Then a source showed you weren't. I guess she just likes getting under your skin, said Phil. Said Pete. Don't she have a desk, Pete asked. Yeah, but most of the time she was in her car or at home. Why are you looking for her? Asked Phil. Susie's brother, Dean Lee, has sort of hired me, said Pete. Oh, that explains volume, said Phil. You know where her car is? That's police impound, said Phil. Do you have a spare key to her apartment? Asked Pete. No, said Phil. Pete hands Phil his card and says, if any of your reporters or you hear anything, please call me day or night, says Pete. I will, says Phil. I call my friend Bob at the precinct. He says Susie's car is at precinct 7. Would you call Jerry and ask if it's okay for me to look at that car, asked Pete. If he's still sore at you for the urine sample thing, asked Bob, laughing. Yeah, I told him I'd pay for the urologist visit, but he just wants to stay mad, says Pete. I'll call you after I talk to Jerry, says Bob. 2 minutes later, Bob is calling Pete and letting him know Jerry is out sick, so head on over to 7. Anything serious with Jerry, Pete asks. Yeah, it sounds like prostate trouble, says Bob. Thanks, Bob, Pete says and hangs up. The car is a sharp blue Honda Accord. Inside are several folders with notes on the Biggy D case. Nothing substantial, but she had to reschedule a meeting with Hector Fields. Seems Tuesdays and Thursdays Hector plays racquetball at the club, and Wednesday and Friday is in meetings. So she meets him for lunch on Monday. They are to meet at Hector's office, then do lunch at on Hector's dime. I call to Hector's office, and Pete finds out Hector is at the club today. Pete swings by the Big D office to wait for Hector Fields. Pete uses the internet to see what Hector Fields looks like. At 2:30, a maroon town car pulls up to the curb, and Hector Fields gets out and heads into Big D's corporate office. Pete follows the town car a few miles away to a gas station. The attendant fuels the car, and the driver, a stout-looking bruiser, heads to the restroom. Pete parks a Mercedes at a hotel across the station and hurries over to the tenant. $300, then the tenant finishes the town car and parks it in the usual spot by the side of the service station. The tenant meets the chauffeur inside, where the chauffeur is chatting and paying for the fuel. The tenant hands him over the keys and pockets a tip. Pete is waiting in the town car, and when the chauffeur slides into the driver's seat, Pete sticks his taser into the guy's neck and holds it. The guy stops flopping, and Pete pulls him into the back seat, tie-locking his hands and feet, and duct tapes his mouth. Pete jumps in the front seat and heads to a warehouse he knows of. The bodyguard chauffeur is hauled out of the town car and dragged to a chain hoist, where Pete proceeds to attach a chain to the guy's ankles and starts hoisting him into the air upside down. The guy is only 3 feet from the ground, but being inverted, he is getting red fast. Pete tells the guy, I know you may want to spit on me to show your defiance, but I will tase your penis if you do. I'm going to ask you some questions. If you're honest with me, I'll let you go. If you lie, you die. Before I take the tape off, I want you to realize you'll need a new employer after today. Hector Fields won't need a bodyguard after today. Do you understand? The guy shakes his head up and down. Okay, Pete says as he pulls off the tape. Do you realize who I am, says the bodyguard. You're the wrong guy in the wrong place today. No more questions from you. I ask, you answer. Pete opens up his wallet with a few thousand cash. The driver's license looks legit. Mario Stephanopoulos? Asks Pete. Yes, says Mario. Okay, that was easy, Pete says. Were you hired by Hector or by Biggy D's and assigned to Hector? Assigned, says Mario. Who do you talk to besides Hector? Asked Pete. No one. Who hired you at Biggy D's? My brother, Long Island Louie. Got a call from a man called Dent that said he needed a driver that could keep someone safe, said Mario. Oh, so that's Stephanopoulos, says Pete. Yeah, you really stepped in some shit, buddy. I know, but until you or your family kills me, just humor me and answer questions, okay? Yeah, says Mario. You never met Dent? Asked Pete. No, says Mario. How are you paid? Asked Pete. An envelope of cash sent to Louie every week. No return address? Asked Pete. Nah, says Mario. Does Hector talk to you? Oh, yeah. Mainly idle chit-chat, says Mario. Have you ever driven him outside of the city? Asked Pete. Yeah, every weekend Hector goes to a big farm Biggy D owns upstate. Where? Asked Pete. Just south of Buffalo, says Mario. Does Hector ever drive himself? Asked Pete. Nah. Pages are stuck together. How long have you drove Hector? 18 months, says Mario. 2 weeks ago, Susie Chan, the reporter, met Hector for a luncheon interview. Do you remember where they went to eat? Asked Pete. Yeah, they went to the Pink Palace Indian restaurant, says Mario. You stayed with the car? Pete asked. Yeah, says Mario. How long were they inside? Asked Pete. 2 hours, maybe 2.5. Then you took them where? Asked Pete. Back to Biggy D Corp, says Mario. What time does Hector usually call you to take him home? Asked Pete. Every night between 6 p.m. and 6:30, says Mario. Does he talk, or do you just sit at the curb waiting for him? Asked Pete. I just wait at the curb, says Mario. Do you open the door for him? Asked Pete. Yeah, for $5,000 a week, I can open a few doors. Are you about done? Asked Mario. I'm getting heavy-headed here. We're close, says Pete. Pete pulls out the taser. What the hell? Exclaims Mario. You lied a few times, and I told you if you lie, you die. But my mom taught me to forgive, so I'm giving you another chance. First lie, though, and you'll wake up dead. You understand me? Said Pete. Yeah, please, I'm sorry, pleads Mario. Okay, I know where you lied for sure, but maybe you're so used to lying, everything is a lie. So we'll go back through the questions, and don't lie this time, okay? Asked Pete. Yeah, okay, says Mario. What time does Hector go home? 5:45 on the nose, says Mario. Have you met Dent? Yes, at the farm. He was always at the farm. Where did you take Susie Chan? To the farm. Is she still alive? Asked Pete. I swear I don't know, pleads Mario. Pete opens up Mr. Lee's cell phone. An Asian voice says, Mr. Wilson, how can I be of service to you? Pick up a large. I need you to send a cleanup crew to 57 East Broadway, a warehouse on the north side of the road. Caskets? Not yet. Just one side of beef that your boss may want to extract more information from. We'll be there in 5 minutes. Anything else? Yeah, just a second, Mario. How many armed guards at the farm? They're everywhere, probably 100 or two. Assault weapons? Yeah, and maybe some chemical agents. We need a party to serve 200 with maybe some nasty gas on the side near Buffalo. I'd plan it for after sunset. Anything else, Mr. Wilson? Said the person on the phone. Could someone meet me at Biggy D's corporate office that could help extract some information from an executive at 5:30 p.m., said Pete. Sure, anything else? No, that should do it. Thank you, said Pete. The cleanup crew pulled up in a van with lab coveralls, got out. Mr. Wilson, thank you. We'll take it from here. No, thank you, said Pete, as he headed for the town car. Mr. Wilson, the Mercedes will be picked up this evening. The extractor will meet you with armaments for tonight's party, said a cleaner. You guys are efficient, marveled Pete out loud. I think that might have been it. Yeah, that's all I went. Anyhow, that's that.